I think it's more common than we think, right? We try to, like in a lot of relationships, we see a partner trying to be controlling in regards to who you're hanging out with.
Yeah.
It just has to do more with like internal trauma and
themselves, no?
insecurities. Like it's never a reflection of the partner or the relationship or the dynamic. Because the reality is that person is going to, like, if they're an aggressor, any relationship they're in is going to be a domestic violence relationship. It's going to be unhealthy. It's going to be toxic until they recognize and take accountability for what they're doing. They're like them hurting others, you know? Yeah. They have to definitely do like that inner work, that shadow work in regards to their own insecurities and trauma.
Just, I wonder how, because I'm sorry.
No.
I mean, very brief. I wonder how, because like once you get into that space where you truly believe that what you're doing is okay, because they don't think it's wrong what they're doing. They just think it's what needs to be done. Yeah. It's normal for them.
So I'm not big on labels, but I think that's where it falls more under to like narcissism, right? That it's hard.
Hey, but to Cookie's point though, I think. Yes, I agree and can acknowledge that the church religion is a form of control. However, as human beings, and we've saw this all throughout history, control is a necessity. There has to be some type of order and structure as to what it is that we have a clear line of straight down the middle. So I get what you're saying with that. And there are people that abuse it clearly, but that's something that is absolutely needed in society in general.
All right, hold tight. Let me play.
I agree. After the Q&A, there was supposed to be a mixer, but I didn't know what was going on with that. There was no clear direction. We exited the auditorium and we were ushered out into the lobby. You know, people were hanging out, taking pictures, waiting to get their books signed. I saw a couple of church hugs, you know, side hugs, but I don't know that I saw any like actual connecting or like men and women like talking to each other. It's like we can't or we won't even have basic conversations, but we are so concerned about earning potential. We got these bingo cards that I'm sure were meant to break the ice, but I don't even know if that was mentioned. The prompts were simple, like what makes you smile, or do you have siblings? Just followed on Instagram, but nothing about them seemed like they could spark meaningful conversations or show that someone was set apart or serious about their faith or even dating or like interested in dating. And yes, icebreakers are meant to spark conversation, but it was just so surface level. Like, where was the depth? At an event like this, I would have expected more encouragement to actually show who you are in Christ or to like have meaningful and intentional conversations. Again, we're meant to be set apart, but
as I'm listening to her, this reminds me of when people are on dates. I don't think meaningful conversations are even happening there. You know, it's just kind of surface level. So
what was the difference between this and a regular singles mixer? And let me know, because I don't think I've ever been to a regular singles mixer either. And to be clear, I'm not critiquing the pastor. Like, even he seemed a little frustrated with the money conversation that kept coming up. Really, I'm talking about Christian dating and how things just seem off. This event could have been a great opportunity for people to connect in a meaningful way, but instead, like, it just felt like going through the motions. So I ended up leaving the event. It was late and I wasn't sure what was happening, but now I'm wondering if I missed out on something, because I've seen some clips from the DC version that happened the next day, and it seemed like a whole different vibe. It looked like there was an actual mixer and people were encouraged to actually talk to each other. I saw a clip of the pastor taking a camera from a guy who was probably on the production team. He's asking him, like, do you dance? And then he like pointed him in the direction of a woman to like get them to dance. Wonderful. I don't think that happened at Charlotte. At least it didn't happen at the Charlotte event while I was there. But to be fair, I wouldn't count the entire thing as a waste. I got to connect with some amazing Christian women who I'm looking forward to staying in touch with. One of those women actually goes to my church. She sat next to me. Like, we go to the same campus and everything. What are the odds? I also met another woman who goes to the host church, and
so I went to a singles event, and when I got there, it was literally 90% women. And I was like, I'm gonna go now.
Your husband will find you when he's meant to find you. You do not need to do anything to find him or to have him find you. I struggled with the idea of dating apps for such a long time as a Christian. And I finally surrendered it, knowing that whenever it's supposed to happen in God's will and God's time, it's going to happen. We have no control over anything. And the beautiful thing is, God knows exactly when you're ready for something. You could feel like you're ready. You could think that you're ready. You could want something, but he knows when we're ready. And he's not going to give us something until we know. He knows that we can handle it, that we are ready, that we are spiritually mature enough to handle whatever it is that we are asking for. Because if he puts a desire in your heart, baby girl, let me promise you, he is going to deliver that promise. But it's got to be in his time. So surrender it knowing that he's going to bring it. It's just a matter of time when he's going to bring it. So trust in the Lord and do not rely on your own understanding.
All right. Let's go ahead and unpack some of that.
All right. So JR, it's interesting what she brought up, because I think that's a very fair critique. And I have heard that in the past from people who have attended these type of formats. And I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's a split. I think it's really a 50-50 split. I think it's really incumbent on the people who set up the format and how they structure it, whether the questions that are being asked or things that are a little bit less trivial and more engaging in terms of, trying to extract, certain things about people, right? Their upbringing, their belief, their value system, things that make them, etc. I think that unfortunately other people coming to that format as well already have a preconceived notion of what things they want to ask, what things they want to get out of it. And sort of those two are not really meeting each other, and they're missing the mark. That's why the format of that event seems to be skewed, because it's so focused on money. And yes, money is important, but I think financial literacy is just as important, right? I think having the conversation about, what did your parents teach you about money? What are your priorities or views on investing and saving and, in buying assets, right? I think it's a larger conversation as opposed to like, how many figures do you make a month or a year? I think people need to get down to the greater details of things.